with several activities online, primarily via their mobile phones. So yes, looking forward to today's session. We will have the presentation by our keynote speaker for today, and of course, other panelists joining him later on this insightful session. I will definitely do a formal introduction later, but for now, I would like to share their names with you. So we have today with us RONNY SUGIADHA. He's the SVP Digital Advertising, Banking and Data Solutions Group from Telkomsel. We have with us Ibu YESSY HARAHAP. She's the partner leader for Mindshare Indonesia. And we also have NEELESH SURYAVANSHee, GM and VP Marketing, Hair Care and Deodorants, Unilever. I will introduce them to you a little later. On. Yes, a little bit of introduction of myself as well. My name is Shanti Tolani. I am the country manager of Mobile Marketing Association Indonesia, and I will be your host and moderator for today. A very warm welcome to everyone here once again, to all our speakers, our attendees on this webinar. Before we begin, allow me to share a little bit with all of you about Mobile Marketing Association. We are a not-for-profit global association headquartered out of New York. Globally, we have over 800 plus members across 14 regional offices in 21 countries spaced out across the US, Latin America, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia Pacific. We are a neutral industry body that welcomes marketers, agencies, media, publishers, telcos, technology providers, device manufacturers, basically every part of the advertising and marketing ecosystem. So who are we? Why are we here? And what is our purpose? We truly believe that mobile is the next big thing, and it is the quickest way for chief marketers or brands to reach out to their consumers. And you know, with the COVID-19 situation, this has literally placed us all in the center of this space. So we reach out to the chief marketers and help them through this process. We are here to also help enhance and accelerate the transformation and innovation of marketing through this digital space. Our initiatives, stand under the four main important pillars, as you can see on your screen. And beneath these pillars are the activities that we work on all year through, such as, the webinar series that we have today. We have the Impact Forum coming up, the Smarties Awards, workshops, training sessions, conferences, summits, certification programs, surveys, reports, research, white papers, and numerous case studies that we have, all of it which is compiled onto our website. Just a quick one on this. On our website, we also have a lot of these other initiatives that are part of MMA. Some of them work around, measurement, attribution, cognition, and best practices around ad fraud, brand safety, etc. And many other initiatives that are done globally. But of course, we try to localize them for our individual markets here in Asia Pacific and for us in Indonesia as well. Our main global theme is Shape the Future, and we are doing our best to help get there along with the experts from the industry to bring about that change for all of us in this digital era and stay ahead of the curve too. Upcoming webinars. We at MMA have been conducting webinars at an APAC level since April this year because of COVID especially. And this will be an ongoing activity as our members and partners have realized the significance and importance of sharing their thoughts, their ideas, activities, and key learnings, especially during these tough times across markets within Asia. For the upcoming webinars up until December this year, you may scan the barcode on your screen or visit the website mentioned below, and the presentations of all our past webinars are included in this as well. Even today's webinar content will be added on to the website for all of you to access later. Also, we at MMA are at the peak of our events across India, Singapore, Vietnam, and Indonesia. From this month all the way till mid-December, some of these events are, the Smarties Awards, the MMA Impact Forum, the Mobile Marketing Certification Program, the Mobile Marketing Ecosystem Report release, and many more. So we would love to have you register with us, partner with us, get involved with us. So do scan the barcode on your screen, get the details on these programs so you can grab the opportunity in doing so. I won't spend too much time on the next slide, but this is just, just for all of you who are not familiar with this space yet, although that's rather rare. Everybody knows what Zoom webinars are all about. But there's a chat session and there's a Q&A session. So please type your questions on the Q&A section only. You may click the like or the thumbs up button to support a question that has already been asked, and the question which has the maximum likes will be addressed first. Please do mention your name, your designation, your company as well. And other than that, should you have any questions you would like to ask us after the webinar, please reach out to indonesia@mmglobal.com. And some of the questions that we can't even look into because of time constraints, we'll take the questions later on as well. So without much delay, let me introduce you all to our speakers and panelists for today's session. Selamat pagi, welcome Bapak Ronny Sugiada, SVP Digital Advertising and Banking and Data Solutions Group from Telkomsel. We also have with us Pak NEELESH SURYAVANSHEE, GM and VP Marketing, Hair Care and Deodorants, Unilever. We also have with us this morning Ibu YESSY, HARAHAP, Partner Leader, Mindshare, Indonesia. Selamat pagi, welcome to all of you. Once again, my name is Shanti Tolani. I'm the Country Manager of Mobile Marketing Association Indonesia. I will be your host and moderator for today. With this, I shall pass on the control to Pak Ronny Sugiada, who will be sharing with us a telco's perspective in embracing the new normal. And after that, we will welcome the panelists for a further discussion. Silakan Bapak Ronny, over to you.
Thank you, Bu Shanti. Thank you so much. It's always good to be back to MMA, right? After all this while, and I guess normally that we have a huge ballroom with like thousands of people, but today we got to do it over webinar, so it's good. I mean, everything is cool. So for everyone else, my name is Ronny. I'm currently looking after digital advertising, digital banking, data solutions group at Telkomsel. But before I share a little bit of information, it's probably, I think it's important to actually tell the story, right? The Telkomsel in this case, or the telco company, right? We have been transforming. We are on the digital journey of transformations, right? From the legacy system, as we understand, the SMS, voice and data, we have been along the years transforming into what we call as digital enabler. So we are enabling our consumer, we are enabling our clients, we are enabling our B2B corporate and small medium business as well, to enable them to go for the digital transformation along together with us, right? I think that's a very important message that I want to bring here before I start. But let me spend a few minutes, right, trying to give a relevancy of how brands and marketers are supposed to act accordingly, with the basis of data that we have when it comes to health, to support your needs, right, for the marketers and the brandings and activations as well. So let me try to, okay. So first of all, obviously we all understand, right? At the times of 2G going to 3G of internet, and then obviously in the 2011, 2010, we have been going through the journey of 4G, which a lot of traction actually gave us a hockey stick in terms of internet usage all over the world. In fact, by introducing a more relevant, starting from the Android at the time, I guess it was in the 2008, and then 2011, it was the first 4G commercial. And then along the way, we see a hockey stick in terms of the usage of internet. And I guess now we are on the journey of a 5G era right now in the coming years. But all of this, why they see a hockey stick? Because it's being driven by all these OTT applications, we call it like that. Facebook, Google, YouTube as well. I guess Indonesia is one of the biggest market for all of these applications, right? And to note as well, 51% of the entire traffic actually being accessed through the mobile devices, which at this stage brings the idea that the mobility, not only that we are now stuck in the home, but before that, at the time of 4G, we go to the roads, we go out there, and then we browse all these applications. I think it's important that how we can, as a marketers and brands, to understand what's the mobility pattern, through the mobile devices. Let me try to go to next. Okay, Telkomsel big data in numbers. Sorry, let me go through back there. We are now serving, Telkomsel now serving about 160 millions of subscribers. We are obviously the biggest market share in Indonesia, and we are also one of the largest telco in the world as well. 190 million SMS traffic per day is being sent out, whether it's SMS notifications and some obviously some advertising as well and things like that as well. So, but what's most important thing is that the broadband data is very, very huge. We are now serving per day about 22.1 petabytes of data payloads, serving out of 160 millions of the subscribers. Okay. In the next three slides, what we are trying to show is that some of the data and how we can extrapolate the data out, the signalings that we capture. Just for information, there's about 5,100 of signaling that we track, and we extrapolate that, and then we analyze that, and then we visualize that together, so that we can have a broader view, a broader picture of what's happening towards the telco data. This is the example, all of us now, in the very unique situation right now, a situation that we have never, experienced in our lifetime, pandemic. So in the 16th of March, I believe it was the first time that there's a himbauan di rumah aja, which all of us have to work from home, stay from home, we cannot go anywhere else. The whole trip, based on mobility patterns, the whole trip went down like 25.1%. Travel across provinces, across provinces in Indonesia is also went down by almost half, minus 40.7%. Business trip across provinces, business trip in the provinces. When we mentioned by the business trip in the provinces on the weekdays, the mobility on the weekdays, it went down by minus 24.2%. All right, and then along the way, there's obviously a rise of citizen mobility. After a few months since the lockdown, the rumah aja, we've seen that people are starting to actually a little bit go alive. Right, on the 4th of June, which I believe at the time there was actually the PSBB transition. We see that there's an increase of mobility. The whole trip went up by 45%. Travel across provinces also starting to get alive, plus 32%. Mobility within Greater Jakarta, is plus 10%, and we see a consistent increase of a mobility on the June forward, until today. By big data, we can explore customer movement, capture mobility, after a new normal. Later, I'll share more towards that. But let me share lots more stories of some of the data that we can extrapolate. The customer lifestyle and mobile behavior are also changing. On the early stage of pandemic, this is what we see on the broadband payload usage trend, right? Tracking based on the websites and data, based on the Telkomsel big data websites and apps. In the July alone, in the month of July, we see there's an increase of games, music, and video websites and apps related. There's an increase of 67%. I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Because at the time, we stuck in the home, even until today, so we listen to music more, we watch video more. There's an increase about 67%. In terms of games, it actually went up to 83.7%. A lot of people are playing games. Insurance is very unique as well. It went up by 154% in terms of people going through the subscriber going through the websites and the apps that relates to insurance. It went up by 154%. E-coms, I think this is obviously we all understand about this. E-com has a huge, phenomenal spike during this pandemic. There's an increase of 74%. I go through lots more after that. Travel and transportation, it actually went down, right? It actually went down because of the Rumah Aja, because of PSBB, it actually went down by 74%. Obviously, they are also a little bit try to make patterns that not only about the OTA websites and apps, but people also use that, to actually find information about moving goods, logistic, ride hailing, one example as well. The other one is the cosmetic and furniture. It actually went down as well in terms of the behavior of people went to the websites, and that's related to cosmetic and the furniture. Went down by about 31%. This is all the data in the apps and the websites. But let me try to go into another layer of information. Okay, so most people are enjoying their mobile, and these are some of the categories, that we identify in the August. This is the latest information that we try to get, to show for all the audience here. In August alone, in the month of August, we see about 41 million of people actually doing a browsing behavior of related to music, and average of March to August, this is about 6 months. This is the pattern. There's an increase on the average about 3.1% in terms of the users. They actually browse the music related. 77 million of people. There's an increase of 1.4% that people browse on the video. Games is very high as well. Social network, we all understand this is very high. E-coms, obviously, there's an increase month to month. But interesting, what we see is that there's a rebound in terms of market signals, in terms of data and tracking as well. For example, I think that's the most important thing is obviously the transportations. It actually went alive in August 2020 compared to the previous month. There's an increase of almost 4.5%, and we see a lot more traction after that. Travel starting to get alive as well compared to the previous 2 months. Banking, actually, all the uses of banking transactions actually came out as well. We also see things like the credit scoring, they actually went alive. And in fact, this month is the highest ever in terms of credit scoring, that people start to do a lending, those kind of thing. It actually went up alive. Okay. The next one is e-coms, right? Okay, we all understand, right? We all understand that e-com is a phenomenal spike because you can do more grocery buying, things there at home and things like that. But what are the big data? What are the informations that we can extract out? 6 out of 10 Telkomsel subscribers are actively using the e-com platform, right? E-commerce platform. But what are those? Which one is doing a lot more than other e-coms, right? For example, you can see here again. These are some of the data, a very small, a little bit of information that we try to slice and dice. Shopee, 33.5 million of users just in August alone actually browse through the Shopee webs and apps, obviously. But what interesting is that you can see that the usage of the pay of the per user is about 136 megabytes per user, right? Comparing to Lazada, Lazada has like 37.5 million, which is actually higher than Shopee. But the data usage is actually higher Shopee compared to Lazada, which means that a lot of moms went out to Shopee and do a lot more browsing than people that actually went to a Lazada, right? And obviously compared to Tokopedia as well, 33.1 million users. There's an average about 28 megabyte per user of payload. Compared to Lazada, I guess what happens is that people that go to Tokopedia, they went straight to the page and they do ordering, they buy and they sit, right? And then they left, right? But Shopee, they spend a lot more time to actually browse through window shopping and things like that. So again, this is only comparing between users and the data users. We can do a lot more, slice and dice, understanding what are the behaviors of each of the window shopping that they went through the Shopee. I think what are the competitive analysis and insights, what are the mobility patterns of each of the subscribers that actually browse through the e-com platform. There's a lot more things that we can do based on the data. Okay, e-wallet, right? E-wallet, 12.8 million of users out of about 94 million of Telkomsel users. About 14% of penetration. Highest penetration is obviously Jakarta, Banten, Jawa Barat, Yogyakarta, and Bali. There's a growth of 7.8% of a month-on-month growth in August alone. And based on the data, based on the universe of 12.8 million of users, we can see that Dana is actually leading here with the 9 million of users. Average usage is about average payload data is about 4.2 megabytes, and overall Link Aja and Doku, right? There's a reason why GoPay is not here, because GoPay is part of super apps, which I explained later on. Travel. I think this is a very, very interesting topic. You know, we all stuck in the home. We really want to go travel right now, but what's the conditions right now, right? What is the statistics? There's an increase of users by 2.77% in August alone, 2020, contributed by several OTA apps and websites, and plus the airlines application as well. And what we can see here is that Garuda Indonesia apps and websites contributes more than half of all the growth, 53.98%. Agoda, Ticket, Booking.com, and Kereta Api, they all see the increase as well of the behavior. There's a research of a needs to actually go travel. But again, if we compare to the pattern of the data usage, you know, Traveloka is actually having lots more. There's a 6.2 million of users in August 2020 alone. Data usage is a little bit low, but I guess, you know, it's a straightforward, I guess, based on my assumptions, is that, you know, people went through the Traveloka, they went straight to the page, they know what they're going to book, and then they do the transactions, and after that they left. Comparing to, for example, Airbnb, right? There's a 12 megabytes of users, even though they only like have half a million of users, but they do a lot more browsing. Okay, those are some examples of the data, what we can see based on statistics, based on we also employ the data scientists as well to actually help us better to visualize and analyze and visualize the data together. I would like to spend a little bit of time about what is the new normal from Telco perspective. Okay. Obviously, a new normal is a new behavior. We are seeing our new habits, you know, new behavior, the focus on health and hygiene. You know, it is the new way of living and going around our lives, works, interaction with other people, and obviously, the entire new normal will only happen when we find the vaccine, sort of. But this leads us to an understanding of a new normal, based on the marketing perspective, we call it a way. You know, the behaviors is actually changed as well. There's a higher spending for entertainment at home. We all subscribe more than one OTT right now, OTT video, and then finding a new hobby. Some people try to bertanam, jorok tanam and things. You know, we think less about traveling nowadays. But the habits has changed as well. There's more concerns on the health and nutrition intake, family protections. Customer expected to spend more time and on remote learning and watching video, and obviously, and talking, communicate over the Zoom, Teams, and things like that. There's an intensified digital activities, right? Whether it's at home or whether it's on the mobility pattern as well. We see there's a lot increase of digital activities from the previous slides that I shared before, whether they browse through the e-wallets, whether they browse through the e-coms and the video games and things like that as well, and online remote, as we understand. So how are we going to, understanding new normal? What will benefit? Now we understand new normals, right? And the increase that makes more telco data is even more critical. What we're trying to say here is that the mobility is very, very important by understanding that now we do lots more digital activities online. The new normal, should brands advertise? I think this relates as well. Based on all the data and information that we have, we as a brands and marketers, so we advertise, so we start advertise, so we prepare for the new normal. So we prepare for the era of when vaccine is found and we all on the vaccine and we all started to get to the normal life. How are we going to predict ourselves and to prepare ourselves in terms of brands? Okay. The pandemic paradox, that time with the media is on rise. But at the same time, because all these conditions, advertisers are looking to cut their budgets. We know that a lot of subscribers, went online, they play a lot of games, they do a lot of browsings, they do a lot of transactions, e-coms, they do a lot of transactions on e-wallets. But at the same time, we as a brands, because of the pandemics, looking to cut the budgets. how we to balance all those, what are the messages that we need to send to the to the users, to actually bring them back towards our brands. Okay. Again, this is based on the Telkomsel data as well. The sentiments of brand communication is slow, but it's getting positive. Based on the serve or impressions that we have, starting on January, we see obviously there's an increase, right? And then in the mid of March, we start seeing the pandemic came over to the country, and everything actually went down, right? All the page serve impressions on the Telkomsel inventories, put it that way, all actually went up, right? Went up. But starting on the May, June, especially on the June and July, we start increasing, right? The pattern is start increasing. The impressions start to actually increase as well because of the patterns that we showed previously. That everything start to move up. In August alone, it's actually, for example, credit scoring. We have a service of credit scoring as well. It's actually the highest ever, right? And actually touch point to before pandemic at the time. People start to doing loan and things like that as well. So everything is start increasing, right? Industries, depends on which kind of a line of business you are, right? Whether you can actually ride the moments. EduTech is very, very popular as well. Telkomsel supports all of the EduTech businesses. Healthcare as well. People like HelloDoc and things like that. We help them and we work together with them as well. Banking, device, computers, smartphones, governance. Actually, you're riding the moment, right? Because your brands is actually what they call as conjunctural. I think that's the right words. That's a very important brands during this pandemic. And then, but another thing is that you need to keep maintaining the communication, right? The fintech, F&B, CPG. I think that's essential. If you call it that way, you need to keep maintaining communications, doing activities, whether online, and to keep maintain the messages, right? To prepare ourselves on the real new normal or when our life actually getting normal. Expected to rebound. I think this is one of the message here. I understand that we understand the retail, travel, hotel actually went down a few months ago. But again, based on the extrapolate of the data that we have from Telkomsel, we see that they are starting to rebound, and even slowly, but I guess surely, we call it that way. Okay, moving forward, nail down effective advertising. So what are the effective advertising, the kind of method advertisings for the brands during this era? Deliver effective campaigns during the new normals. I think there are some of the critical elements that we always try to work together with our clients, partners, audiences, understanding the audience for relevance and personalized. I think that's very important nowadays, to actually understand based on the data, to visualize the data and understand how are we going to personalize our offering towards our consumers. The context of the advertising also very important, understanding the context and the perceptions during this time especially, and what kind of delivery, what kind of targeted inventories that we want to deliver. There could be any formats, it could be video, it could be text, it could be MMS, it could be SMS, to understand what are the customer journey, especially into this era, which we are still work from home, but we start to see more mobility on ground, outside home. Okay, so in terms of audiences and big data, understanding customer data behavior. So what Telkomsel been doing? We understand the pattern of our data based on the two major, categories. Demographic, I think it's pretty standard, male, female, locations, the age, the spending behavior, the payload behavior, but also the consumer habit, right? There's a browsing pattern as well. There's an understanding about the time, length of stay, what are the pattern of recharge, whether you actually recharge your pulsar, less than 100,000 with the people that actually recharge the pulsar more than 500,000 rupiah. It's actually a different category of audience, right? And then obviously on your smartphone as well, if you use the less, even put in a brand, right? The lesser brand of a smartphone comparing to iPhone, I think that's a different audience as well. And then the pattern of the customer behavior, whether you browse more towards the daytime or on the weekdays, on the weekends, and whether your location is based on the home or the home. I think that's a lot more understanding. We identified about 5,100 of signals that we track, and then we visualize, and then we try to analyze together with our partners. Okay, so all of those we put that into what we call as the lifestyle segments. It's a 51 of segments. I think it's also part of the IAB standard segments as well. So it's not nothing is actually nothing new, but we can identify based on the interest, hobbies, based on the patterns of all the signals, and together with the data scientists, so we can understand again based on the demographic, based on the behavior, we put it in, and then we identify at least 51 of segments right now, and it's kept on growing. Again, we would like to talk together with any brands, any partners. Please come to us, and we can identify together with you what are the segments other than these 51 segments. Okay. In terms of context as well, this is the second one. The old perspective is that business as usual, avoid anything that relates to a COVID messaging. I think that was in the early April or May. But now things are very different, right? We want to prepare ourselves in terms of brands, we want to prepare ourselves into the new normal, right? So what are the messages that we want to send, right? The distance itself, the online human interactions, and the understanding, sending the message that we are now ready. Don't worry about going out from your house. We can send up, all the groceries, all the materials to your doorstep. Uplifting and positive messages that again, you don't have to be sad and things like that. You have to be. You can do a lot more activities at home, even when you are doing work from home. Informative for the new normal. Again, preparing yourself for the new normal. These are some of the examples. These are some only several examples that we think is very relevant. Human interaction in a new way. Samsung did this before. Stay apart but stay together. Uber, Uber very interesting. They came out with the campaigns. Thank you for not riding the Uber, right? So because at the time that they tried to send a message that no, stay at home. Di rumah aja, don't go out from there. So even Uber did that message. I think that's very fantastic, and it really shows that the humanistic way of actually sending the message as a brand and marketers to your doorstep, especially on the rate hiding as well. That we can grab and do safe deliveries. Don't worry about it. There's a safe distance as well, or you can actually ask the driver to actually put your groceries at the floor, right? And then you can there's a physical distancing as well, something like that. Pertamina did it as well. Consumer, you just need to call us up, and then we'll send the gas to your house, to your doorstep, right? I think that's kind of messages that the brands need to do, whether you want to be more humanistic, because your brands cannot relate very well in this pandemic, or you send uplifting messages. Bear brands, siap-siap jalan, again, getting ready yourself, informative and helpful. Hello Dog is a very interesting message as well. And Lifebuoy, I think we'll spend more time together with that. Cuci tangan dengan sabun. There are many messages of delivery that we can do. Again, these are some of these as well. Again, we can do a video, audio. We can do video, text messages, SMS, LBA, location-based services. There are many media of advertisings that you can do, even in this era. There's an O2O, and it doesn't have to be purely online. You can do a little bit offline as well. I know that's very classic, but again, we can mix the O2O still in this era of pandemic. And then we can mix and match with the data reward. So 5 key takeaways. This is my last slide. Again, Shanti has been calling me as well. So COVID-19 pandemic, has resulted in a significant change of our behavior in the new normal. But again, all the changes is that we look in the positive and uplifting point. I think that's the message of that, right? And then we can send out messages, whatever the conditions of the brand is. More consumers doing activities online, make more devices more powerful. So I think again, it's very important to understand the mobility of your consumers. I think that's one of the things that Telkomsel can really help on that. Telkomsel has a very big data. Along the years, we have tried to standardize this. We are soon to launch the dashboard together with our partners, clients, brands, and agencies. I think in the next few weeks, we are going to launch a product that's very interesting. You can slice and dice. You can do the first party data together with your data, the third party data, combine together, and then we can do a more slice and dice, doing a personalized campaigns, doing personalized targeting and things like that. Brands have to maintain their customer engagement to preserve their brand equity. Never give up on that. Start doing the messages. As you can see, all the previous data, right? Everything start going up. The new normal is starting right now. With the combination of data, inventories, and contextual, I think obviously Telkomsel can help you on that. Thank you on that. So again, it's good to be back on MMA, and I hope that everything is is fruitful for everyone. Thank you, Shanti. Back to you.
Terima kasih banyak, Pak. Thank you, Pak Ronny, for sharing so much data with us. That was extremely insightful. It was interesting, especially for brands out there, from different areas of businesses and agencies as well, because we need a deeper understanding on the use of this data, and it has become even more critical now because of COVID, that brands, agencies out there, maintain or rather enhance their customer engagement to preserve their brand equity, to extend their services, with a deeper understanding of the current dynamics to fulfill the needs of their customers during these tough times. Thank you for all that data. Thank you for keeping the time in check. Thank you for that. We do have a couple of questions from Ibu Karin Zulkarnain and tutorial.com, but we will take them later at the end. As we do have a Q&A session, so terima kasih untuk pertanyaan juga. Nanti kita akan push ke Q&A session. Yeah, so with that, moving on, let's take an interesting and successful case study to the forefront, because now Ronny has shared so much. So let's look at the case study and how a brand, an agency, and a telco have come together to put all of that into action. So let's discuss a Lifebuoy campaign called Kuatkan Kebaikan, where the core intent was to connect families during these difficult times. But I will not do most of the talking. I will instead, like to invite and get into the limelight a panel discussion in today's webinar session. So I would like to once again warmly welcome Ibu YESSY LESTARINA HARAHAP, partner leader, Mindshare Indonesia, and NEELESH SURYAVANSHEE, GM and VP Marketing, Hair Care and Deodorants from Unilever, to join Ronny and myself on this panel discussion. Welcome once again, Ibu-Ibu, Bapak-Bapak semuanya.
Thank you, Shanti.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shanti. Very good to be here.
Great to see everybody. And thank you for the audience attention as well. So let's start. As we all are witnessing, right, this has been a very challenging and unique year globally due to the COVID situation. And with this, Indonesia and definitely other countries too experienced a very quiet, isolated Lebaran or Eid this year. Mudik was an impossibility and it was disruptive. So with this campaign, we saw a lot of effort being put together, for the communities at large. We will, of course, show you the campaign a little later. But before we get to the actual details of the campaign, if I may perhaps start with NEELESH. Can you tell us a little bit about, the marketing strategy, the intention of this idea by Lifebuoy at that time? Can you give us a little bit of background on this?
Sure, Shanti. Thank you for having us on the MMA webinar. I think it starts with the brand's purpose. Yeah, purposeful brands are one of Unilever's fundamentals of growth. We really believe that brands that do well are the brands that really do good. Unilever was probably the first to adapt this principle, but it has become quite mainstream now. And most responsible brands think about what their purpose is and how they can positively impact their consumers' lives beyond just their functional promise. But as they embark on this journey, we really need to walk the talk and convert this purpose into concrete actions. These actions they don't need to always be very big and very grand. They can be small. We can start small, start somewhere, and then they make a difference when they all add up. And so Lifebuoy, one of our most purposeful brands, and this activation or this campaign was just one example of Lifebuoy's commitment to make life a little bit better for its consumers. Like you said, Lebaran was quite different. Everybody recognizes, I've been here in Indonesia for about last 3 years, and I've seen the Lebaran as it is celebrated or supposed to be celebrated. And this year was indeed really quite different. So So as families really look forward to being together to celebrate, and togetherness was a central part of this entire festival. People travel the length and breadth of the country to be with their families. Many people travel back from overseas to celebrate with their families. But of course, this year, families could not do it because of COVID-19 and the restrictions that were imposed on travel and togetherness. So as a family brand, we really understand and recognize the importance of families being together, especially during important occasions. At the same time, being a responsible brand and a brand which has hygiene at its heart, we also understand that it is very impossible, uh, very impossible to travel this time, because it was so important to follow all the guidelines that have been laid down to deal with this situation. So what we decided to do was just to give people a chance to still connect with their families, respect the guidelines by using online channels. And because we really target the mass consumer, we recognize that it might be a bit hard for our target market with all the different analytics that Paroni had shared. We recognize it might be a bit hard for our target market to connect digitally, as they can only spend a limited amount of data on per month. So we came up with Kuatkan Kebaikan, partnering with Telkomsel to really remind families they could still connect with their loved ones, even if they were far away. That's the strategy behind the entire campaign, Shanti.
Excellent, excellent. That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that with us. It has been a year for brands to strengthen their core values, putting them into action almost instantaneously, considering the crisis situation. And we're also seeing how collaborations are taking place within verticals in the ecosystem to help achieve that. This is, I think, where agencies also play a very critical role, sort of in bridging that collaboration and taking this forward with their expertise. So I'd like to get Ibu Yessi to share with us the story behind, the collaboration between Telkomsel, where of course they sit on big data as at the core of their business, and a massive Unilever brand such as Lifebuoy, and how did you, as their agency, successfully get the two of them to mentally, calculatedly, creatively shake hands on this campaign? That's one. And since this is not the first time of the association between the three, how different was this from the previous years? So there are two aspects of the questions, Ibu Yesi, kalau bisa kita satu-satu dulu.
Oh, okay. Thank you, first of all, for having us here again, Mbak Santi. Yeah. So, I would like to start that I think everyone here would agree if I said that the importance of getting the right audience in delivering a successful campaign is no longer debatable. So, as you mentioned before, that this is not the first year for Unilever, Lifebuoy, and Telkomsel DGI has become partner. So this year, basically, especially with the pandemic COVID situation, we need to move faster in understanding the insight and also getting the sharper right audience data. So basically, that means we need to ensure that the campaign will run on the right platform. Therefore, we know that Telkomsel is servicing more than 160 million customers in Indonesia, and we basically also need a solution where the platform has to be able to get us to right audience data, which also called as hyper audience focused data. So therefore, in this case, we need a platform that can help us in delivering Lifebuoy campaign to target the audience based on various metrics, such as domicile, quota use, type of phone, and even age group, and which really help Lifebuoy to identify the right target audience for this campaign. And then for the question, what is different from the previous years? For one thing for sure, there were no COVID in the previous years. So this year, I think the challenge is totally different. And the fact that many families cannot reconnect and meet physically during special event like Eid Mubarak and Ramadan has become very major and very crucial and being felt by many families. So I guess in the last previous years, we basically focus on getting and giving the customers a capability to send like aid card through interactive apps. But then this year it has to change because the situation has also different, and Lifebuoy should embrace and help customers and audience and utilize the insight very accurately.
Thank you. Terima kasih, Ibu. Terima kasih. Itu sangat, it was indeed very interesting to hear, how the apt use of data and of course reaching out to the hyper-focused target audience is key. And since agencies work, very closely with several brands within the various verticals, you have definitely a clearer idea on, the magnificent significance of this. So yes, that was insightful. Let's get into the discussion of the campaign itself. Do you still, Ibu Yesy, kalau boleh ya, kita lanjut untuk ini. How did Telkomsel and Lifebuoy and Mindshare carry out the planned concept of this Kuatkan Kebaikan campaign initiative and bring this into reality successfully? The execution of the campaign per se, right from the planning stage and onwards. So how did this come into life?
Yeah. So I guess as mentioned by NEELESH, Lifebuoy shampoo has been having a purpose. It helps connecting families and also would like to share a positive message that is also strong and relevant to their target audience. Here actually in the campaign, differently from last year, we invited people to make videos for their families as a new way to continue strengthening the kinship during a special event like Ramadan, where many people and families cannot meet due to the pandemic situation. Well, originally the focus was more on the families who were separated because some of them were working abroad, but then the pandemic situation also impacted many families in Indonesia as well. So I guess from the slide as well, it's already quite self-explained. Telkomsel actually helped to spread the message of Kuatkan Kebaikan campaign to our audience. So through the platform, Telkomsel send the message of Kuatkan Kebaikan from Lifebuoy with SMS, and also display banner. And then it will direct the consumers to land at the lifebuoykuatkankebaikan.com, and then they will continue further process in the page, and then where they can also send a personalized message. So after they send the video and the video being watched by their families, they will get free data quota. This is very important, I guess, in this case where, especially in the lower class social, where the help of getting free quota data and sending video would be very significantly impact to their lives. I think that's all.
Yes, I'm sure Ibu communities in Indonesia really loved this campaign because we Indonesians, we love sending videos. It's exciting. So thank you for
exactly.
Interesting data and interesting concept, interesting idea that you brought forward. So terima kasih banyak. I'd now like to direct the attention to RONNY again at this point. As we all know that targeting the right audience is really key. So RONNY, what was the overall approach used by Telkomsel Digi Ads to determine a suitable, relevant and apt target audience for this campaign? Because that is prime, right? I mean, audiences are massive, but to get, the right kind of audience, the relevant and suitable kind of audience for this particular campaign. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the campaign with Lifebuoy is very, very interesting for us as well. And it's a very good lesson learned for us as well to identify. Because this campaign was originally built, as Yesy said, to actually target the ones at abroad, right? Especially on the migrant workers as well. So based on the data, we try to find what are the top categories that are the highest of, the migrant workers, right? For example, Saudi Arabia, the Arabian, the Hong Kong, Malaysians, and we take the understanding of the locations, and then we slice and dice together, with their length of stay, for example, and their recharge as well, so we can identify what a group of peoples or a group of audiences, that we can target. Again, we clean up that information as well. For example, if they stay less than 30 days, we know that they are probably tourists. That's not what we want, right? We try to to clean up the right audiences for that. And then after that, we target them based on their behaviors, as explained earlier as well. And then we do several campaigns as well to actually make sure that we do a right targeting. But again, it is a very, very interesting campaign. And there's a lot of lessons learned that we can do from this campaign. Yeah. So we target them based on the locations, we target based on the activity behavior, the customer audiences, and things like that. And then we match it together with the lifebuoy needs. I think that's very interesting. Yeah. It's a very
Excellent.
high focus of the targeting. Yeah.
Excellent. That's great. That's great. Quite extensive and remarkable. Yes, a lot of thought and effort put around the telco behavior for the targeted audience. Terima kasih, Pak. So now directing the next question towards Panilesh again. Panilesh, let me get you in the spotlight. Tell us, Pak, why was the selected data quota such an advantage for these communities? When we are looking at the communities aspect, right? What did it truly mean for them to participate in this Kuatkan Kebaikan program?
So when we started planning this campaign, we took the help of our insights team, who basically mapped how behaviors were changing during COVID time. And like RONNY has already shared, there was significant movements on many factors. Some things really dropped, some things really accelerated. So it was important to remain agile and understand what was happening with consumers. Of course, one key insight was that people were browsing a lot more while they were staying at home, which meant that the usage of their data quota was actually increasing. And this would actually soon become a challenge for Lifebuoy users who only purchase about less than, say, 500 megabytes of data or so per month. So they are on the lower side of what they purchase. And apparently shared about how we segment users based on the amount of data that they purchase as well. So because of this, we thought they might feel a bit constrained, might feel a bit hesitant to actually call or get in touch with their families using their limited data. And as we dug into this, we indeed found that they would want to do this because they were basically in a situation where there wasn't any way out. But they were also, on the other hand, acutely conscious of the amount of that they were spending. In many places, the data was being used for other purposes like education of the children and so on and so forth. So they were genuinely in a place where they would want to do something, but they were unable to. So there was a genuine consumer tension there. So we thought that we could make an sort of immediate difference to their lives, release a bit of this pressure by providing them a free data quota to make it easier for them, permissible for them, acceptable for them to be connected with their loved ones in these challenging times. So that's how we kind of focused on the data quota and made a real difference to these communities who live under constrained circumstances.
Excellent. Excellent. This was definitely a creative way to touch, the digital and the emotional chords of the audiences. So, very, very nice. Just for the audience out there, yes, ada beberapa pertanyaan. There are a lot of questions. We will definitely take them at the end in the Q&A session. So don't worry, we have them recorded. Also for the panelists out there, if you would like to respond or type your answer, you're going to be able to do that as well. But other than that, we'll definitely take it forward. My attention now goes to Ibu Yessi, sekali lagi Ibu. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about, the final phase or the completion process of the Kuatkan Kebaikan campaign, basically the final touches, and if there's anything that you think could have been done better in this campaign. But with this, we would like to also show the audience of what the campaign is about. So after you definitely tell us, what I just asked, we will show the audience the actual campaign. But my emphasis would be, the completion process towards the end. And now with the learnings, what could have been done better? So after that, we'll definitely get to see the campaign. Ibu Yessi.
Okay, Mbak Shanti, thank you for the question. So I guess Neelesh has mentioned how important it is the free quota data for many families that we have to connect. So it might not mean much for some of us here, but it means a lot for them. So the Kuatkan Kebaikan campaign has basically helped many families to send video to their close family. And I think the campaign was closed when we created a beautiful story video based on and also from all the video compilations that were sent from families throughout the whole campaign. So this video then was uploaded through social media like IG and Facebook, and of course Telkomsel through their platform also send the video through SMS. So I guess what's important here that we really hope that this act can continue reminding us on how important it is to continue strengthening relationship during special event like Ramadan and Eid Mubarak, which is a very big event and very major in Indonesia. And I guess more importantly, I think Kuatkan Kebaikan campaign has able to help communities to keep in touch even though the situation is very challenging. I mean, we are in a situation which we never expect to happen before. And Lifebuoy Kuatkan Kebaikan has been given a contribution to communities. So I guess not to make many of the participants curious, I guess we can just play the video so that it will be clearer for everyone. Let's
Excuse
play
me.
the video.
And I then have one last question for Ronny, but let's see the video first.
Ramadan kali ini memang berbeda. Jarak yang memisahkan semakin terasa. Impian untuk pulang ke Indonesia pun harus ditunda. Belajar untuk selalu bersyukur atas kehadiran orang-orang di sekitar kita. Walau terasa berat, selalu ada hal positif yang bisa dibagi. Semangat dan silaturahmi harus tetap terjalin kuat dimanapun dan kapanpun. Tetap kuatkan silaturahmi dengan keluarga tercinta yang terpisah karena jarak.
Assalamualaikum, hai ayah, kak, gimana kabar kalian? Maafin ibu, lebaran tahun ini gak
Kami
bisa
sudah
bersama
menghubungkan
kalian.
ribuan keluarga untuk bersilaturahmi. Bersama Lifebuoy, kuatkan kebaikan.
That is excellent. This was a great initiative by all three sides. You know, we could see communities in Indonesia really needed this. I think amidst all other significant factors this year for Eid, for Lebaran especially, this was much needed. It was very interesting also to see, you know, just the collaboration between the three. Terima kasih. Thank you for sharing that. Last question for the panel discussion, and then we move on to the Q&A. It was very interesting to see how Telkomsel, this is for Ronny Appa, it was very interesting to see how Telkomsel's rich data bank and ability to sort of brilliantly execute campaigns such as this, keeping the privacy norms in place, it has become a magnet for brands and agencies to look into. And we see how this campaign has actually taken shape. So I'd like to ask you, Ronny, can you please share with us some data regarding the performance of the Kuatkan Kebaikan initiative?
Yeah, again, as I said, very interesting campaign together. One of the most successful that I can say. You know, I think we reached, I believe, on our targeted data, we reached about 4 million of people all across Indonesia. And there's actually 30%, 32% more than the announced target of 3.1 million of the targets of people. We achieved lots more than that. And I also believe that, you know, together with Mindshare, I think we received more than 1,100 of videos and likes as well together on the social media. So I guess that's very successful as well. And probably, yeah, reaching about 4 million of people all across Indonesia, more than 1,000 video likes. And not only that, I believe YESSY can say on that, I think that's it reached about like an increase of brand power of 60 points, probably on the next slide, or YESSY can explain more. Yeah, so again, we are over targets, and but again, that's not only about 3 million or 4 million people, right? I mean, there's a lot more targets that we can do if we can do a more broader of a slice and dice, if we call it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Terima kasih Pak. Terima kasih Bapak Ronny, Ibu Yessy, Pak NEELESH. Thank you for your time today and for sharing your thoughts, your ideas, your insights with us. To keep a check on the time, yes, we are, you know, at the end, but we would like to dedicate maybe 5 to 7 minutes just for some question answers. I will not be able to take all of them, but you know, let me take on a few. Let me take on the ones that is it from. So let's take the one from Tolani Bistari. Yeah, he says, I'm from Wego.com, a travel meter search company in Asia and Middle East. By the end of the day, company needs an actual transaction from all the ad spent. What is the best method from the from the Telkomsel team, basically, as just for them to be able to move towards conversations further than just the awareness phase. So this question is basically targeted to Ibu Yessi and Panil regarding the services from Telkomsel.
So I read the question and it asks about the direct impact of using Telkomsel services. So I think the biggest impact that we have is, of course, in the efficiency and directness of the marketing spend. We can target, RONNY shared, nearly 51 different types of consumer segments, and the more, and particularly for smaller brands, brands which are starting up, the ability to be able to micro-target their consumers, whether it is locality or interests or demographics, is really critical. And we see a significant improvement when we use this, not only for this campaign, but for the other campaigns as well that we run. We see a significant improvement in cost per clicks and other metrics as we use the data seed from Telkomsel. For this particular campaign, I think suffice to say, Lifebuoy has been growing very well. It's been bucking the trend in all this COVID, because many of the categories have been adversely impacted. Despite that, Lifebuoy has been growing very well. But what is very heartening is that we have something called an SLP score, which tells people's reactions to whether a brand is doing good or not. It's quite a simple score. And do you think this brand acts in the interests of people in general? And we see an increase in those kind of scores that we normally track. So it's very good to see. And like I said, brands that do well tend to do good in the long term. So that was the result of this. Very happy to have seen such a positive impact.
Great. There's another question to take from Anindya Kusuma. This is for RONNY. He thanks you for the insight. It is stated on the slides that there's a higher spend for entertainment at home. Does this correlate with higher spends also towards data packages as well as subscriptions for videos, music, maybe gaming platforms? And now during this time, people are, seem to be more spending more time, spending more on online entertainment as much as, they can access them. So what are your insights or thoughts on this particular question, where he's touching upon several other factors?
Yeah, very interesting as well. So I stated in my previous slides is that everything that lists for entertainment actually went up starting in the March, right? You see there's an increase in terms of video consumptions, OTT consumption as well. OTT such as the latest that we launched was Disney Plus, Telkomsel together with Disney Plus. I think there's a huge traction on that one as well. And games entertainment actually went up by 83% on the month of August, in fact. And and tally along as well is that yes, people are spending, but we are seeing increase in terms of broadband. I believe that's about 10%. But obviously, I think lots more that can be done, because what happens is that the people actually stay more at home, right? And then they spend time connecting broadbands towards their Wi-Fi, obviously. So in terms of telco subscriptions, it is growing, but obviously it can increase more, right? But the fact is that we're all at home right now, and I think a lot of them actually connected to the Wi-Fi. But in terms of spending, yes, I mean, like we see increase in terms of for example, Disney Plus, right? I think there's a huge traction as well, and we also see a new incoming OTT players in town as well. So along most of the OTT players, they all went up significantly in terms of a subscription. Yeah.
Okay, terima kasih, Pak. This is not a question, but it is from Ibu Karin Zulkarnain. I think this is just to clarify as the data, when and what, because she said it's interesting that you're showing, the insurance business going up by 154, whereas the life insurance association data has shown, the insurance premium in the first semester, which tracks a decline basically of 38%, and also premium income was down by 2.5. But now, just to clarify for Ibu Karan, whether, the data that you had was an overall collective data, or because this, what she's mentioning, is specifically on semester 1. So any clarity on that, Paroni?
Yes, yes. The one that I show is purely based on the browsing behavior. We got a lot of signals, right? But the one that I presented earlier was about people browsing through the website and apps that's specifically about insurance and about insurance. We haven't tracked into the purchase behavior as well. Again, that's something that we can actually work together. If there's an external party or data, then we can, do it more on the slice and dice. But this is based on behavior of people browsing through. But transactions-wise, it could be lower, right? It could be decline. But a lot more people actually browse through about, try to understand about what the insurance options and things like that in the March to August. So again, that's purely based on the webs and the payloads, the browsing behavior, not the transactions. I think this Bukhari, I think is more towards the transactions of the premium insurance and other insurance as well. But again, that's very interesting because once we find out the behavior or the pattern of the browsing, comparing with the data of the transactions, I think a lot more data analytics that we can do together. So just to clarify, again, just to clarify, it was about browsing of a website and apps that relates to insurance, not the transactions.
Great, great. Okay, we have to keep the time in check. So we will not be able to take questions, but this is just FYI. We have questions from tutorial.com. We have another one from Anindintya Kusuma. We also have one from Rafael Jeffrey Anwarsari. Those we will definitely take online. We will send them, to the to the panelists, and get the panelists then to kind of, respond to these questions. So we've noted them. Don't worry, we'll get back to you. As of now, we have come to the end of today's webinar. I'd like to thank everybody, the panelists, the attendees, for your time with us, MMA, today. We appreciate it. Thank you to the audience as well for spending your Monday afternoon rather, with us. We shall see you again virtually on the MMA Impact Forum, the Smarties Awards, and all the registrations that are going to open this week. Terima kasih sekali lagi semuanya. Have a great week ahead. Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, and
Thank you,
thanks a lot.
everyone.
Thank you, Bu Yessi. Thank you, Nilesh.
Thank you, Paroni. Thank you, Nilesh. Thank you, Shanti. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.